Do you or somebody that you know struggle with a horrible habit? Is this habit destroying their lives? If so, we sense the story you're about to hear could change their life.
At 17, I ended up meeting a boy who I thought was like the love of my life, and he turned out to be a heroin dealer and introduced me to heroin, and I quickly became very addicted. Between him and the drug, they both seemed to fill this void, even if it was temporal, that I had been trying to fill all these years. I was doing anything I could just to please him and to satisfy my craving for the drug, and I ended up stealing thousands of dollars from my family in the process. I got a phone call from my grandma, and she had the police at her apartment, and they were looking for me because of all the money I had stolen that she had not known about, and I was facing jail time, up to 10 years in jail. My mother talked to my grandma and my dad, and they decided they would not press charges as long as I started going to some sort of rehab. She tried taking me to Christian counselors and psychiatrists and doctors, and none of that worked. She finally one day was driving in her car and she heard about Reformers Unanimous on the radio. She told me about it, and I didn't really want anything to do with it. I didn't see how I could stop using a drug by a religious program. It didn't make sense to me. But she threatened me and said that if I didn't go, she was going to kick me out and take away my car. So I started attending meetings with her one Friday, and right away I was convicted by the Holy Spirit, and I knew that this was going to be different than all the other avenues I had tried. I went back with her a couple more times, still not ready to give up my lifestyle, but seeing that there could be hope. July 9th of 2004, I ended up getting saved at a meeting, and right away, the Lord was working in my heart, and I really decided that I wanted to change. I decided that I wanted to get rid of the boyfriend and the friends and the drug, and I wanted to live for Him. I realized that not only did Christ die for me and save me, but that He did want to have this deep personal walk with me, a very intimate relationship. And so the Daily Journal allowed me to really establish that and to just see insights that He was giving me from His Word. And He wanted to speak to me, and He wanted me to speak to Him. And I started seeing things happen in my life that I never would have even ever dreamed of. My dad and I had been very alienated from each other basically my whole life, and especially since he had found out about my addiction. But the Lord allowed a way for us to just start communicating and talking, and we started growing really close, and now we talk all the time, and we have a really close relationship. I started seeing prayers answered that I could have only ever dreamed would have been answered. He let me go to Bible college and work in ministry, and it was neat to see that from where I'd been and to where I was now, how he could use anybody, and he was choosing to use me. I started thinking certain things about my leadership and about my life, and really wondering if this was it, or if I could be successful out in the world. I figured that I could live my life and not live it in sin, that I could have a fun, successful life without having to be separate. So I ended up moving away from my family and friends and started going to a secular college and got a secular job, and I wasn't doing anything wrong per se in the world's eyes, but I wasn't living a life for the Lord. I had completely shut Him out of my life, and the next 3 years of my life after that were miserable. There was still this aching feeling inside because I knew that something was missing. I didn't really pinpoint it then that the fact that I was miserable was the fact that I was, running away from God. And I remember sitting in my apartment saying, "See, Lord, I've done it. Like I'm successful. I really don't need you." A couple days later, I all of a sudden felt the Lord speaking to my spirit. And right there, I felt this tangible love of the Lord, that He loved me and He cared for me still. And that no matter how far I had gone, He still loved me and He still wanted to use me. And so I right there knelt on my floor and just gave my life back to the Lord. And I lived about an hour and a half from my mom and from my home church, but I would drive every Sunday and Wednesday just so I could go and be at that church. And the Lord really started working in my life. And December 12th, 2010, I rededicated my life to the Lord. And since then, He's just done amazing things. I just wanted to know the Lord as deeply as I could. And the one thing that I really felt Him telling me was, love the Lord thy God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. And that really is the one thing that He asks of us, is just to love Him with all that we have. It truly is not about me, it is about Him, and just loving Him and serving Him and allowing Him to just live through me. And that is where you get the most joy, and that is where life is just truly worth living.
Visit reformu.com to invest in the curriculum that every graduate has completed for their own personal and spiritual success. This is a Bible-based curriculum that is the fulcrum of our enormous rate of success. Or, if you need more than an at-home course, find an RU class near you at reformu.com. For those of you in desperate need of residential recovery, please visit our residential website at ruhomes.org to view an inspirational video detailing the effectiveness and the beautiful environment found within our residential facilities. At Reformers Unanimous, we will show you the very truth about your addiction, but it'll be up to you to allow that truth to make you free. Finally. Visit us today at reformu.com or call our helpline for intervention or information at 866-REFORM-U.